Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your MN47 notes, where we're going to find the surface area of cylinders. And we're going to get right to it here. In example number 1, we're going to find the surface area of that particular cylinder with a height of 15 feet and a radius of 12 feet. Now, if you were to take a cylinder and look at it and want to know the area of the entire surface, the first thing you'll notice is obviously the top and the bottom are circles. And I'm going to draw a circle here. And that represents the top and bottom. And that top has a radius of 12 feet. So if we want to find the area of that top, we have area equals pi r squared. The area is going to be pi times 12 squared. And let's round that to the nearest tenth. So we have 12 squared, which is 144. I multiply that by pi. So the area of this circle is 452.4 feet squared. Now there's two of those, so we're going to multiply that by 2 because there's two circles. So we're talking about the top and the bottom area. And we multiply that by 2, we have 904.8 feet squared. I'm going to bubble that because I want to make sure that I don't forget that. That's for the top and the bottom of the cylinder. Now, we need to focus on what I always consider the label of the cylinder. And if you slit the cylinder, let's say like right here, and then unwrap it, you'll actually end up with a rectangle, or at least I tried to draw a rectangle, where you have a height of that rectangle at 15 feet. And the interesting part is the length of it. And I'm going to do this in red to try to explain this. But if you unwrap it, your length of your wrap is actually the circumference of the actual circle. So this right here, to find this length of this rectangle, you need to find the circumference, which is pi times diameter. Now we know that the radius was 12 feet, so the diameter is going to be 2 times that radius, which is going to be 24. So we have pi times 24, and that's going to give me a circumference, and I'm going to write it down here because of course this is the same length, as 75.4 feet. So again, I can't stress that enough, that really the rectangle that's considered the label of the cylinder is the circumference of the top and bottom base of the actual cylinder. And when we calculate that circumference, we end up with 75.4. Then when we find the area of this rectangle by multiplying 15 times that 75.4, we will end up with an area of 1,130. Oops, actually, just looking at the rounding here, let me just write out what I'm seeing. It's 1130.97. Since we rounded here to the nearest tenth, I need to round this to the nearest tenth as well, at least. And really, this is not going to be 130.9. It's actually going to be 1,000. Let me try to find my writing utensil. 1,131.0 feet squared. So this right here represents the area around the cylinder. This represents the area top and bottom. So the entire surface area, I'm going to calculate right here, is going to be 1131 plus, so 1,131 plus 904.8. Also, my smartboard just stopped there for a minute. And if we add those together, you will have a total surface area of 2,035.8 feet squared. So that, my fine young ladies and gents, is how you find the area of a cylinder, or surface area of a cylinder. Now down here, in example number 2, this is an example where they're giving us the surface area. The surface area right here, as it states, is going to equal 1,097 meters squared. We need to find the x. And if you look at this, the x is right here, which is the height of the cylinder. So let's start at the beginning. We know again that we have a top and bottom base, and this one has a radius of 8.2. It's hard for me to read that. I hope it's 8.2. So let's find the area of that circle really quick. So 8.2 squared times pi. Okay, so again, the area of the circle is pi r squared. And you end up with 211.2 meters squared. Now again, there's two of those, a top and a bottom. So you end up with an area of 422.5 meters squared. So that is the top and bottom circles. And now again, let's focus on the label around the cylinder. So we know that the height is the variable we're trying to find. That's that x. And again, if you don't see it, let me just kind of change colors here. Here's the height right here. So that's the x. We do know that, again, this length right here is the circumference around. So that's going to be circumference equals pi times diameter, which is 8.2 times 2. So we have pi times 8.2 times 2, and that gives us a circumference of 51.5. So to find the area in that rectangle, it's going to be 51.5 times x. Okay, so let's put it together now. We have the surface area is going to equal 422.5, which is the top and bottom of the circle, plus, or the cylinder, plus 51.5x. We also know that the surface area here is 1,097, which equals 422.5 plus 51.5x. So again, we're just substituting in everything we know. We take 1,097 minus the 422.5, which is going to be 674.5. It's equal to 51.5x, so we're slowly solving for x. I have students coming in right now, so we're going to finish this video pretty quickly. We end up with a length or a height of 13.1 meters for x. So the height of this cylinder is 13.1 meters. Okay, so again, taking a step back, we found the surface area of a cylinder by finding the area of the top and bottom bases, which are circles, and the outside label, which is a rectangle, using the circumference of the bases. And then here we found an unknown value, which in this case was the height, by working backwards and solving for that height using algebra. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk about any questions you have tomorrow in class.